Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Bark Night Podcast. I am your host, Patrick.
And I'm Dan.
So this week, we are doing a review of Captain America Brave New World. So first off, please take a moment to subscribe wherever you are watching or listening. It really makes a big difference for the channel. And yeah, without further ado, this is episode 30. For the episode today, we're going to start off with Captain America, then we're going to jump into some news, then some physical media showcase, and we got some fun little detours along the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and keep the episode a little bit short tonight. I want to be done by 7:45 because my wife is going out to get Cookout for us. Dan, you probably don't know what Cookout is, but it is a burger place here in Virginia, and it's become like my favorite thing, which is terrible because I shouldn't be eating nearly as many cheeseburgers as I am, but that's where we're at.
They're good.
So she's getting back with it at 7:45. That's the plan.
Right. So
she'll get back then, and if I'm not done with this, it's just going to be a burger sitting down there getting cold.
No one wants that.
All right, so let's get it started. So first off, before we get into Captain America, one thing I wanted to talk about that is really interesting is, so last week we talked about the movie Hard Eyes, and we talked about the fact that it took in $8.5 million at the box office. Do you know how much it took this weekend?
I do not.
$10 million.
Good. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it didn't take, I think it took like third or fourth place, but it made more money in its second week than it made in its first week. And boom, they got their budget back.
And that's good for like a horror movie. Like to make more money the second week doesn't seem that common of a place, especially going at bigger movies coming out.
Yeah, and that's what we had talked about is like because of the theme of the movie, the Valentine's Day, that would be the real test of the movie, and it did well. So
that's good to see. I'm glad about that.
Yeah. Honestly, it was a great weekend for movies all around. Everybody seemed to do pretty well. So yeah.
How'd Paddington do? Did you check that out?
I didn't see how Paddington did. I think it took third.
I still gotta watch Paddington 2 before I see that new one. Getting off track. Go ahead.
Paddington 2 is wonderful. Please go watch it. I think
it's better
than the first.
We're getting there.
All right. So Captain America Brave New World. This is the fourth Captain America movie. We're at like, what, a billion different Marvel movies at this point?
I think it might be 30. Is it 30, just like this episode?
Hey,
it might be.
It might be. It's around there. It has to be. So,
which is crazy when you think about it. Like, what other movie franchise is anywhere near that? James Bond's, what, 22, 23? I think that's it.
Sure.
But,
I love James Bond, though.
No, they're good.
I went on a James Bond kick a few weeks ago. This weekend I went on a kick and I watched Captain America, The First Avenger, and then I watched Captain America, Winter Soldier, and I was going to watch Civil War, but I just didn't get around to it. I went and saw this instead.
That happens.
It does happen. I mean, it's a lot of movies. I watched Winter Soldier in 2 sittings, so, I was running out of juice at a certain point there, and I was like, I don't want to burn myself out on all this before I even
see the new one. Yeah. Yeah, don't want to do that.
Yeah. So I did get there, though. I know you got there first. You went Thursday or Friday? Friday,
yep.
Yeah. So
me and Holly went up to the IMAX in Webster and saw it.
You saw it in the IMAX theater?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, was it awesome?
It was pretty cool. Like they had like the seats that rumble and stuff for like the action scenes. It was really, really neat. I haven't seen a movie in that way of seeing a movie like in IMAX since like Gravity. So
I saw Deadpool and Wolverine in IMAX.
Awesome.
It was really good.
But anyways,
okay.
Yeah.
Yep. So for anybody that doesn't know, the plot of this movie is Sam Wilson, the new Captain America, finds himself in the middle of an international incident and must uncover the motive behind a nefarious global plan. It is directed by Julius Onah of the Cloverfield Paradox fame. Have you seen that, Dan?
No.
It's not very good.
Yeah.
And that kind of
checks.
I knew that going. Yeah. I knew that going into this. I was like, ooh, they got the Cloverfield Paradox guy. Not sure if I would have done that.
Yeah. You would have said like 10 Cloverfield Lane, a bit of a different story, but.
Yeah, I mean, they should have. That's the guy that did Prey, too. On top of him directing it, there are a total of 8 different writers on this.
It also checks out.
That also checks out. And a number of reshoots. So I'm just kind of setting the stage for everybody for what type of movie we're getting into here. For the cast, we have Anthony Mackie, Harrison Ford, Tim Blake Nelson, and Giancarlo Esposito of Breaking Bad fame.
Yes. And The Mandalorian and
The Mandalorian.
The Boys. He's everywhere.
Yes. Before we get any further, do want to say that we talked about this a while ago about what we would want to do with him, and there was talk of him being a version of Professor X, and I am so disappointed that they could have done that and they wasted him with this role.
Absolutely. I want to do the positives of the movie before we get into crapping on it, but that's definitely in my negatives is what they did with him.
Yeah. Okay, so budget, it cost $180 million to shoot this movie.
Hulks aren't cheap.
Hulks are not cheap. It's also not cheap to shoot it twice. So
that's very much true.
So yeah. Box office wise, though, things were looking up. So we had like I said, $180 million budget in the U.S. alone. U.S. and Canada, it made $87.8 billion. Worldwide, it made $192 million. I said billion. It's $87.8 million, and worldwide, $192.4 million.
That's good. That's a good opening.
It made more than its budget back already, so now it's just chipping away at marketing budgets, which, as we've gone over, generally you need to make twice your budget to make that marketing back.
Especially with a big movie like this.
Especially. And so on one hand, you might think, oh, well, they had to shoot it twice, so maybe this was actually a $90 million movie. But no, they spent money on marketing for this, as one does when they're part of Marvel. So I would imagine the $180 million in marketing, that's probably accurate.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. Review-wise, IMDB, we had 6.1 out of 10. Seems pretty accurate.
Mm-hmm.
Rotten Tomatoes, we had critics at 49, audience at 80.
Oh, we dropped down to 49?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, big discrepancy there. We've talked about this before as well. A lot of times this is what you get with these sort of divisive comic book movies. You remember there was a big discrepancy with like Batman versus Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I think that's because critics want to see a good movie, and audiences sometimes just want to have a good time, right?
Yeah, that's completely accurate.
So I think that was really the case here. I went yesterday during the day. It was President's Day. I figured perfect day to watch Captain America. I went at an 11:45 in the morning show, and the theater was packed full.
Really?
Yep. Kids everywhere. Kids had the day off here.
That makes sense. Okay.
I think that had a lot to do with it as well. And we don't have as many of these coming out right now. So kids love Captain America. They love Hulk. Boom. They came out for it, and they had a good time. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's kind of what matters,
Great point. That is what matters. Like, I know I have a whole list of negatives I'm going to crap on this movie about, but entertainment value, it's there. Like, if you like these kind of movies, if you've enjoyed the previous Marvel, what it is. At this point, if we're 30 movies in, as we said, you know what you're getting into. You know what this is. It's entertaining. And that is the best thing you can say about any movie, really.
Yeah, it is certainly entertaining. From a review standpoint for Threads, largely a mixed bag. I see more hate than like, little to no love, fair amount of people that are like, hey, this wasn't as bad as you said it'd be. And I think, that's a lot of what we're getting lately. And I mean, to think of it from that perspective, the Marvels got a ton of hate, right? And then a lot of people skipped the theater for that one and saw it only, and that a lot of that was impacted by there being not as much promotion for it from the actors and whatnot, because they were all, on strike. Big factor there. Anthony Mackie's been doing the rounds on this. So has Harrison Ford. I've watched so many interviews with those two. I've seen the Instagram videos with Anthony Mackie going to the theaters and introducing this movie for people. You know, he really wants and he really needs this movie to be successful, right?
Right.
And so does Marvel for that matter. So they were getting out there and they were doing their thing. And, you know, during the strike, movies like the Marvels didn't get to do that. And for what it's worth, I kind of think the Marvels is actually better than this movie. But, you know, that's just my personal opinion. And it is, you know, I think people, you know, they just wanted a good time with this one. We got less of these lately. You know, Marvel's slowed their input. So, you know, that's kind of where we're at with a lot of these. So one of the things I had found was a breakdown of movies from Marvel post-Endgame and their Rotten Tomato scores. So the lowest on this list is Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with 46%. Next up is Eternals with 47%.
I don't hate
now,
that
like,
movie.
come on. What's that?
I don't hate that movie.
No, I do not think Eternals is 47% bad. There's a lot of things to like about that movie. The Marvels got a 62%. Thor: Love and Thunder got 63%. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think Thor and Love and Thunder deserves to be a little bit lower down there.
I agree. I don't
but
like
then
that
everything
movie.
else is 70 and up. I mean, even Black Widow took a 79. That's higher than Deadpool and Wolverine. Now, mind you, these are critics' scores, not audience. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever has an 84, so that's the highest.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is 82, and Doctor Strange: Multiverse of Madness was 74.
Right.
So, you know, it's I've read those in out of order than I probably should have.
It's all right.
You get the picture.
Got the information across. And Marvel, honestly, is more concerned about audience than critics, if we're going to be 100% honest with it.
Yeah. So you know, where this lines up in all of those is
The third lowest?
third lowest. So Ant-Man, Eternals, this, then the Marvels.
It doesn't deserve to be that low.
You don't think this movie does?
I don't think so.
Okay. So that's kind of where we're at with all of the reviews for those things. So I spent a pretty good amount of time talking here. So Dan, I'm going to pass it over to you for a moment here and just kind of go over some of the things that caught your eye during this. And I do have a section upcoming where I marked down a bunch of the things that people have talked about were part of the reshoots. So either save points you have for that or do that.
Okay. All right, yeah. So going into the movie, obviously, the trailer gave away the plot immediately that it's going to be Red Hulk is going to be a big part of this. And going into it, I didn't really realize how big of a part it's going to be. It's literally Harrison Ford and Anthony Mackie's movie, I think. I feel like they kind of co-star in this. Anthony Mackie's great as Captain America. I think he brings the character to the role, the qualities you want to see, the qualities he's shown as Falcon. Like, he's not just trying to play... He's not trying to be Chris Evans, Steve Rogers. He's trying to be Sam Wilson as Captain America now, and he does a great job of carrying that over from his previous roles. You feel like it's the same character, just with more responsibility, which is great on his part to pull that through. Harrison Ford, in recent years, people have kind of given him flack for taking some movie roles that he just kind of shows up and gets a paycheck for, not really putting the effort in. He puts the work in here. Like, he is great in this movie, and there's some monologues he does that they're just really good. I'm like, I like that. I liked him in this movie. I thought he did great, and for being an 83-year-old man, just hats off to him. I thought he was great as well. Carl Lumbly, I made a point to write him down. He's the guy who plays Isaiah Bradley. Did you see Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the TV series?
I did.
He was a standout in that. He's a standout here. I like him in this role. I really like him as Isaiah Bradley, the aged, neglected super soldier from the Korean War and such.
Yep. You know, this isn't the first time he's played a superhero.
Oh, no. Go ahead. What do you got for me?
The 90s, he was, you ever see the show Mantis on Fox?
No.
It was like a street level, just, it was almost like a Batman type thing.
Like the Tick?
Not really.
Okay.
So he's got like a suit, and he doesn't have any superpowers. That's why I say he's more like a Batman, because he's using tech, right?
Really?
But it's like a nighttime based show, and I actually watched it. I don't think it was on long, a season or two, but yeah.
No, I didn't know about that. That's cool.
Yeah, I just like you brought him up, and like I was like, oh, here's a.
That's great to hear. I didn't know about that. I might search that out just to see what that's like.
Yeah, check it out. I remember liking it as a kid, but I haven't watched it since.
I put a note down that he was also Dick Halloran in the Doctor Sleep movie. He got the unenviable role of filling those shoes, and thought he did quite
Yeah.
well at that.
Yeah.
So he's great. Those three actors I thought really stood out. Sierra Haas as Sabra, I thought she was good too. I just don't think she got enough to do, but I liked her character. She was Sabra, the Black Widow that was introduced in this movie. I thought the special effects were good overall. There's some weird, obvious green screen that I think is just part of the massive reshoots this movie went through. Some things just don't fit in and don't look as polished as other parts because they were done at different times, and it's noticeable. But like
Hmm.
the effects on the Hulk look good. The effects on like whether it's Celestial Island, which is hilarious, they named it that.
Yeah.
when no, I'm like, why do we name it this? Okay, they even know
They're all
about
fighting over
Celestials.
unobtainium.
Yeah, unobtainium. And that was another thing that I don't know. I told you about this, but like one day I was getting ready for work and I had my Instagram open and threads were like there's like random things were playing, and all of a sudden I heard Harrison Ford goes, "We need adamantium. We need it now." I'm like, "Oh, I guess that's in the movie." So, but they didn't try to hide that. Like, it was kind
Only
of
one
out there.
person's gonna get it. It's gonna be
Gotta be
me.
us. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I thought the acting's good. I think that's what I wanted to bring up is just the acting stood out. The special effects for the most part were good, but then if you want to go into the negatives, there's some stuff to dislike that I wanted to touch base on. But throw it back to you. If there's anything that I didn't touch that you really liked that we could discuss real quick.
Yeah, so, I think for every good thing, there's like a negative thing almost because it has some very good action, and then it's got some action that you're like, there's some obvious editing issues, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, one of the things that you said that I think stood out to me as most accurate with this movie is upon coming out of the theater, I thought that, like, hey, that wasn't as bad as everybody said. Like, hey, that was fine. That was fun. Great. But the longer I've sat on it, the more things that I remember noticing
And
that
they kind of
stuck with me, right?
kind of bug you a little bit, right? Kind of like,
Right.
why was this done this way?
Yeah, and it's, I think a lot of it really just comes down to the reshoots because a lot of these things don't fit together. And that has been a recurring issue
It
of
has.
theirs is you're not going into this with a full movie. Sometimes things aren't going to work and you have to go back for reshoots, but sometimes they don't fit together like that.
Yeah, I don't know if like I know there's a weird thing with like Universal involved in like the Hulk movie rights. I don't know if they don't want to put out like a Hulk movie sequel ever, but I just found it weird that they kind of took a Captain America movie and made it into a Hulk sequel as well. It's
It is an interesting decision because going into it, I obviously prepared by watching Captain America 1 and 2
mhm.
when I probably should have prepared by watching The Incredible Hulk because it's really on many fronts a sequel to that.
Oh,
And
100%.
that's also been Marvel's thing lately that they've been struggling with is so to truly be caught up to watch this movie, you needed to watch Incredible Hulk. You needed to really watch Captain America 1, 2, and 3 and the last two Avengers movies and you needed to watch
Falcon and Winter
uh,
Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And so I think that this show runs into all of the same hurdles that Falcon and the Winter Soldier run into, where they gutted complete plot points from the movie, and it shows. You just feel like something's missing. And that's what I said about the show is like, when you watch it, you're like, oh, that was fun, that was fine. But then when you think about it after, you're like, but does something seem off? And it, like with that show, is because they removed an entire like the whole. They were supposed to be like that group was supposed to
Flag
release like
Smashers.
a yeah they were supposed to release like a virus that was
And
supposed
then
to do something, and then the pandemic happened and they
you're like,
removed it.
yeah.
And so apparently one of the big plot points that was removed in this involved Sabra and Israel, and then the whole Israel-Palestine conflict happened, and they're like, "Oh, we can't do this."
So then they downgraded her to a Black Widow.
Yeah, and so they gutted points in the plot and you just see that something's missing. And so I think that, all of your points are valid. Anthony Mackie is great as Sam Wilson. And Bucky, so spoiler alert, Bucky shows up. He's there for 3 minutes.
It's literally a pretty obvious one of the reshoots, I'm pretty sure.
I'm pretty sure it is too. They're like, oh man, there's a glaring omission here of no Bucky in a Captain America movie. And he says some inspirational things, and like, what was it? He was like, Cap was something people...
Oh yeah, what was it? Captain was someone who gave him courage. You're someone who inspires them.
People.
Yes, something along those lines.
You're somebody that they aspire to be.
Aspire to be. That's it. Yeah.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And he's like, "Did your speechwriters help you with that?" And we're like, "Speechwriters?" And then he's like, "Oh yeah, because I'm running for Congress." It's like, what?
Yeah. And then he's running for Congress, and you're just thinking in your head like, are they ever going to use that plot point again? Because he's in Thunderbolts in a couple months.
He's going to show up in Thunderbolts, so they're going to be like, well, I can't run for Congress now. I got to be the Avenger.
Yeah, and...
Yeah.
So, like, I'm, like, kind of wondering, like, are they going to just abandon that plot point? Or is Thunderbolts going to take place before this? I don't know.
That's possible. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, but, like, we're just kind of at that point where people are, like, we can see that they're struggling to keep all these strands in place. And so...
This movie shows like they're trying to clean up the Celestial strand. They're trying to clean up a couple of the Incredible Hulk strands.
Yep.
But
they're trying to lay the groundwork for the mutant saga that's going to be next.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, but like what they should really be doing is just trying a little bit hard to just release a good movie.
Right.
But like, with that being said, some of the positive things, Harrison Ford is great. It's like, this adamantium belongs in a museum. He's great. There's some pretty cool espionage stuff in it. It's got some Manchurian Candidate style stuff. Have you seen Manchurian Candidate?
A long time ago. I saw the Denzel one, I think.
A month ago. That's the one I watched a month ago. And very good. It lines up with this and that very well. I love it when they lean into those, older espionage styles. I love that. They have that. It's good. Love a good mind control,
Again, that's what I think the movie was supposed to be at first, and then they just went back in and made it a Hulk sequel, too.
Yeah.
Not to beat a dead horse, but...
And what else?
There's whole things about, like, there was, like, other Serpent Society members that had scenes filmed, they're just gone. Like Roman Reigns, I think, or Seth Rollins, one of the wrestlers from WWE. They had a role.
Do you want to dive into the reshoot stuff? You got anything else you want to put in here?
No, not really.
Okay, so I made a somewhat exhaustive list of all the different things that were added and removed here.
Okay.
And so the first one is that if our viewers remember, once upon a time, this was called New World Order.
Yep.
NWO. And so that was removed because apparently they realized that had been co-opted by, basically racist organizations.
Oh, of course.
But also it's like, to me, I immediately connected it to like WWE,
Yeah.
There was their NWO on that.
WCW.
So, was it
Well,
was it?
It was WCW, and then WWE bought WCW, so it was in both for a bit. But yeah, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So yeah, there was the name change. That's a big one. Apparently, the entire final battle was reshot.
Really?
All of it. Yeah, and that is why most of it is just Sam Wilson fighting, I'm imagining.
Right.
And you can see it's all CGI.
Yeah.
The scene where he's walking up to him at the end, that's a reshot.
It's bad green screen on that one.
Yes. So that when he's walking up to him. And the reason for that is because, spoiler alert, but I mean, we're spoiling a lot of the movie right now. So in the original, they were going to kill Thaddeus Ross at the end.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I want to preface this for everybody. All of this is rumors, obviously. these are not confirmed by Marvel because Marvel doesn't really confirm these sorts of things. But yeah, apparently in the original one, they killed Thaddeus Ross at the end. He was like the straight up villain of the movie in that version. So I don't know if the leader was involved in the original version. So I just imagine they didn't make him out to be the ultimate bad guy in that version. But apparently in that version, Thaddeus Ross. And so this last part here is one that I kind of doubt just a little bit, but I had read that there was a rumor that he was using the gamma radiation on purpose. He knew it was there, and it was because he was, greedy for power or whatever. Right. And that to me just doesn't make sense to his character, right?
Right.
Because he hates Hulk. He does not want to become Hulk,
Like him deciding to Hulk up would be just hang on, domino. Get back. Him trying to be a Hulk would be completely just against his character.
Yeah, so that last part there, but them killing him, I do believe that one probably, that makes sense, and I don't mean it makes sense, but it doesn't surprise me if they would do that. And they apparently did it because in the original version, adamantium played a larger role. It wasn't just the unobtainium of the movie. It was used as Sam Wilson's secret weapon.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
Because he was able to, and I guess they were able to absorb gamma radiation into the adamantium, use that to kill Thaddeus Ross at the end because everything else had failed.
Really?
Yep. That's the rumor.
Don't love that.
No, I don't love that either.
I'm okay they got away from that, but...
Yeah, but I still think there could have been... I mean, honestly, that, by and large, the Hulk fight and all that was pretty cool. And Hulk does look very good in that. I couldn't help but think, though, that... Could you imagine how blown away you would have been if you didn't know he turned into Red Hulk in that movie?
Right.
If that wasn't just this
in the trailer
part of the marketing for this.
Right. They would have just marketed it as a Captain America movie, and then final act, here's Red Hulk. That'd been awesome, but Marvel doesn't want us to have anything nice. They want us to know everything before we go to the movie.
Yeah, and I think it was because they had doubts in this one. They're like, in a perfect world, if this was Guardians 3, we get the surprise. But it's Sam Wilson's first thing. You had all the reshoots. You're drowning in rumors. I see why they did it, and I understand why they did it. But I think in the future, when somebody's rewatching through these, and that sneaks up on them, and they haven't been reading the message boards for months and everything, I think people are really going to like that reveal at the end.
Yeah, it's done too with the whole him having those heart pills, and that whole scene he had earlier in the movie with Sam. It establishes that he doesn't know what he's doing really. Just he's trying to keep himself going with these heart pills.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Another
Heavy
one.
side.
All of the leaders' scenes were reshot.
That checks out.
All of them.
That checks out.
And he talked about that even. So this one's confirmed. He said, somebody asked him what was hardest about it, and he was like, well, the hardest part was that I had to shoot all of my scenes twice. And apparently they didn't love his design in the first one, so they redid it. It was a practical design where he had an elongated head.
It was green.
And there is a lot of merch out there with the picture on it. So if you haven't seen that yet, Dan, look into it.
Like the Funko Pop?
Exactly. That's out there. There's production art that's out there. There's a lot of things you can see with that on it. And it just seems, if you've gotten to the point where you're releasing all that stuff, it seems crazy to me to redesign the character at that point.
And then just make him look like he's got some weird head rash,
Bubble brain. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like how he looked. I would have liked to have seen the elongated green head.
Yeah, I didn't love that look either. I didn't the thing I really noticed though is that it really looks like those scenes are added. You can very much tell. The first time you see him on screen, it looks like there was a shot of just a hallway, and then they took Photoshop and just put his character in the middle of the hallway. He's standing as still as possible, and it looks so just done in post, you know?
Now, yeah. When I watched the movie, I don't know if it was just the theater I was in, but there's a scene where him and Sam are talking across the courtyard towards the end of the movie, and like his part is so weirdly blurry. Was that like it for years too, or was that just my version of the
Yeah.
movie? It was
That
okay.
looked
So that's
that looked
obviously a
added in as
reshot.
well.
Yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
exactly. You know, some of it reminded me of like when they brought Princess Leia's character back for the third Star Wars movie. Not the third, but
The third new one or whatever.
yeah, Rise of Skywalker. And you just see her like standing in a scene and she'll just say yes or something. Like
Right.
it'll just be like somebody will have a whole monologue and she'll be like, yes. And
Makes
like
sense.
then it'll like cut to a new scene and you're like, why was that there? Like and it's just to establish that she's in the movie. But like
Right.
they were upfront about the fact that like, hey, we only had footage of her from the last
Saying
two
yes.
movies to do something with. So
Right.
this is what we got. And so, but a lot of it was just kind of reminding me of that, of like, oh, all right. Like, you know, it reminded me of like Fantastic Four, right?
The Fan Four stick or
Four
the yeah.
Fan Four stick, where like you've got what's her name with like the fake wig on, all of a sudden. Yeah,
Kate Mara's Sue Storm. Yeah.
exactly. So a lot of that going on with this. Another one is Ruth/Sabra. You never really, I don't think you even heard her name Sabra in the movie.
No, you're right. You
Her
don't.
arc was drastically cut down, apparently. Drastically. So I immediately noticed her. In some scenes, it looks like her face is superimposed on somebody else's body. Did you notice that?
I didn't notice that.
It very much looked that way. And so many of her scenes specifically looked off. I was like, what is going on here? Why does it look weird like this right now? And so I looked into it afterwards, and they said that her scenes got butchered.
Really, that sucks.
Yeah, and then at the end, there's a scene where she's walking, and she randomly has a superhero suit on under her jacket, and then it just vanishes. You never see that suit again.
I was gonna bring that up. I noticed the suit too. It was like blue and white, and clearly underneath her jacket. When like
Kind of
Sam,
had like Captain Marvel vibes to it.
right, it did. And like her, Sam, and Joaquin are walking onto like the bridge to talk to Ross, and she's wearing that clearly superhero suit, and that's it. You know, I don't think you see her again after that point, or she's at the very end, I think. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, she's gonna do something cool. Nope, she's not.
No
That's
context as to what that is.
Yep.
Never see it again
Nope.
in the movie. It was so strange. I was like, okay, whatever.
Clearly, there's something planned there, and they just scrapped it.
Yeah. So it's just like, I don't know. Like, so many of her scenes just seem so off. Apparently, in the original version, she was a mutant. Her powers got completely removed.
In the comic book, she's a mutant.
Yeah. So that happened.
But still, I do think the actress tried, but she didn't get a lot to do.
No, she didn't get very much to do. And it's really unfortunate, you know, because it seems to be because of the Israel-Palestine conflict. And, yeah. Next up, Giancarlo Esposito scenes. Every scene that he's in is a reshoot because he wasn't in the original version.
That checks out.
And that is very glaring.
The
some of it doesn't quite make sense.
The first scene he's in, like they X-ray the building with Red Wing's special X-ray building ability, and Joaquin's like, "Look at that! That's the guy from that's Sidewinder from Serpent Society." It's like, okay, that's very forced, but okay. And then the rest of the movie is like, he wasn't in this original movie at all. You can just tell.
Yeah. So every shot that he's in, the scene where he's like captured and he's being interrogated by Sam Wilson, 100% new scene, and that's why it's just those two. And every scene that he's in, it's just those two.
Yep.
The church scene, just those two. The interrogation scene, just those two, and then the street scene. And you can see a lot of the street scene is green screen as well because of that. He does well though, you know.
Yep.
Giancarlo Esposito is one of the best actors out there right now. He can do anything. Yeah. It's just unfortunate that he was shoehorned into this like that, where so much of his stuff just doesn't make sense and just doesn't need to be there.
Right. And you said earlier about the whole Professor X thing, even if they would have given the Sidewinder character a chance to do something, he just doesn't get a chance to do anything. As you said, there's like literally 3 major scenes in the whole movie that involve him, and that's it. So that doesn't feel like a good use of a really good actor, you
Yep.
know? So
Yeah, and like how they're like, somebody wouldn't just stand you up at this deal, and he's like, I will find out who did this disrespect. And because plot wise, it doesn't make sense, so they've got to be like, why doesn't this make sense? Like, just because you acknowledged it
that
doesn't like
doesn't
that
help it.
doesn't make it make
No.
sense now. Like,
And then like it was a little bit weird too when like he was fighting Sam. He started like talking about probability fields. It's like, do you need
yeah,
to be doing that? He said
yeah.
there's a 78% chance you escape the grenade. It's like, stop.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm sure, like, that was probably some of this leader stuff that was added in too, right?
Yeah.
Where they were like, all right, we got to make the leader make sense now too.
Just stop digging the hole, guys. You just
Yeah. So that's something that was added, removed everything else Serpent Society. So apparently one of the big groups in this movie was supposed to be the Serpent Society, which consisted of 5 serpent-related supervillains, led by Rosa Salazar's Diamondback.
yeah,
She's completely removed from the movie.
completely gone.
You can find merch of her out there as well.
Really?
She's got like pink hair, and it was her leading a group of a bunch of other supervillains. You had Cobra, which that was Seth Rollins.
Okay.
And he was basically like, yeah, no, he was interviewed about it and was like, yeah, no, I'm sure the movie's going to be great, but my stuff's not going to be in it anymore. And didn't really want to give any reason why.
I know. Go ahead, sorry.
There was 3 other characters, Constrictor, Rattler, and Asp. And those 3, I don't even know if they were just like not real actors, I don't know. So you had Rosa Salazar, WWE, 3 no names, right? And
Right.
so, maybe that group just didn't work in the final version, right?
I know Constrictor's definitely a C level Marvel villain, but he has his own stuff going on, so it's kind of surprising they wouldn't put someone in that role. But apparently, the guy that Sam fights at the very beginning was Copperhead, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Like you never know that.
He's a reshoot guy as well. He was added in post. They removed all of these characters, and he's there as just like something left over from.
So they removed all those characters, added in Giancarlo's Sidewinder and this guy's Copperhead, and thought that's good.
Guess so.
Okay. Weird.
I'm imagining that maybe they thought 5 characters was too many. And there's also theories out there that maybe they didn't think the Serpent Society's style fit the rest of the movie, because they're led by Rosa Salazar, and she's got like pink hair and a completely pink suit, and if she's got her scenes with all these other guys, if all 5 of them don't work, like you can't just remove one of them, right?
Right. Right, and that checks. But I kind of want to see that movie,
Me too.
That's what I want out of this movie.
Another one is Amadeus Cho.
Oh, really?
Is in this. Yep, he was Logan Kim of Ghostbusters Afterlife fame.
That kid? Okay.
The young kid that has the podcast.
So annoying.
You didn't like him in that?
Oh, his name's actually Podcast, I'm pretty sure.
Probably. Yeah, he was originally in this as Amadeus Cho, Helen Cho's son from the Iron Man. No, not Iron Man. Avengers.
Age of Ultron.
Age of Ultron, yeah. So they were tying up that loose end. He got added in reshoots and then removed before the final version.
That's okay.
Yeah. There was apparently another airport fight sequence that had Cap, Falcon, and Isaiah Bradley in suit, all fighting the Serpent Society. But if
That's
you
what I
remove the
want.
Serpent Society, you don't have that fight anymore.
That's what I want.
Yeah, so that was a thing that got completely removed. And yeah, I guess the other part of this is that the producer Nate Moore, who's one of the main producers on this, next to Kevin Feige and Louis
Esposito, yep.
Yep. He left Marvel last year, And a lot of people are theorizing that it's because of this movie. Like maybe this movie was his baby, and it was such a bad experience that they were like, "All right, well, maybe time to move on."
Yeah.
So, but yeah, that's all. That's all. I mean, there was a bunch of other stuff out there, but without taking an exceptional amount of time to go through it all, that's what I had found.
Sorry, cat. Yeah, I'm at my parents' house right now, so I have cats around me, and a furnace that keeps kicking on. So if you can hear it behind me, that's why. Stop it. All right. So, yeah, dude, that's as my thing. I wanted. There should be two movies here. There should be Captain America versus Serpent Society, which it sounds like we almost got from what you're saying.
Yep.
And then that should have led into an Incredible Hulk 2. They could have just had the little threads of like Ross showing up, the assassination attempt happening, and then the whole like leader breadcrumbs leading to that movie. And it just all feels compacted in here. And it feels like it kind of does a disservice to Anthony Mackie. This is supposed to be his first. No, I mean, obviously, this is his first Captain America movie. This should be his showcase. And he's got to share time with this other storyline with the Hulk and everything, which again I liked, but it feels like he didn't get enough chance to breathe.
Yeah. You know, and it does seem like, could you imagine adding those other like 6 characters into this movie?
No, couldn't do it.
You know, it's a lot to be adding into this, and that's probably why there's no actor names along with those other 3.
Yeah.
You know,
you'd obviously have to cut out like a lot of the Harrison Ford stuff. Just he'd have to be like a cameo in the beginning, and then like little tidbits through the movie.
Yeah, but I think you're right. You know, maybe I think having a Serpent Society movie probably makes a lot of sense.
It does.
Right?
The Captain America villains.
All of those characters.
Yeah, and we're at a certain point in the MCU now where, like, before the mutants get here, everyone who's powered is either like superhero, like performance enhancers, or a suit, pretty much, or magic, I guess. And it'd be if you would have had these Serpent Society guys like genetically engineered by like the leader. There you go. Then you have this whole other branch of like characters that bring out like, you know, you could do like more like genetically enhanced like crazy scientist things like the Jackal, or like, you know, you bring out like the Rhino eventually, like a real actual version of that now, like what we saw in Craven. You know, like you open up the door for like scientists experimenting with DNA and making these monsters that is a big part of Marvel Comics, like animal themed villains, and you could have had a great way into that with this.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've got who's the woman that's in the Wolverine?
What
hero
Viper.
Is that? Viper. Yeah, there's another one for you too.
Exactly, could have had her in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it so by and large it does. It's I agree with you. You know, I think really dig into those things and, you know, give these things room to breathe. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. Like I get like I don't know. Do you think there's still something with Universal with the movie rights so they can't have a Hulk movie without them getting some of the money? It's got to be, right?
Yeah, I think Universal. I don't know if there's any end to that contract. You know, it might exist for a long time, right?
Yeah, like the Incredible Hulk's gonna be 17 years old this year. If we're at this point and they still can't put out a Hulk movie, it ain't never gonna happen.
Yeah. You know, I think all of this it reinforces the idea that I think this is the last one, right? I think this is the last movie that is part of this old guard of going into a movie without a full script and all that. They've
maybe Thunderbolts,
and I feel it is possible that Thunderbolts is the last one, but I think that I think they've gotten to that point now, right? Because this big shakeup that they had, that was like a year ago, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I wouldn't imagine we're still seeing residual effects going into, you know, when's Thunderbolts? April?
Yeah, I think so.
But it is possible.
I think Fantastic Four is going to be their first. It might be their movie where they stamp it like this is where we regain our footing kind of thing.
Yeah, their first steps.
Haha. I see what they did there. Maybe we don't know.
Maybe. Do you have anything else for this movie?
No, just the more things like the scenes with Ross that were really good with Harrison Ford. it would have been so much better if it was Bruce Banner he was giving those scenes to. I know, again, going back to the whole thing, but
I was so hoping that they would bring Bruce Banner into
right,
this. That's who I thought I was going to see visit him in the raft at the end.
right.
I think they added the things with her daughter in too. I didn't
Oh,
see anybody note that, but it feels like Betty Ross showing up is added. The call that she
oh
has
my God, so
with
awkward.
him, yeah, like it sounds like they only had like pre-recorded like words of
Mhm.
hers, and they're just trying to make a phone call out of
Yeah.
it.
I'm sorry I didn't call you after the assassination attempt. Who doesn't call? I feel like even if you're estranged from your parent, someone tries to assassinate them, maybe you call at that point,
Yeah,
which is weird. Yeah.
yeah. But I did like that she showed up in the at the end. That was
Mhm.
cool. Her
Yeah.
showing up at the raft to see him.
It's probably it we'll see for those characters, don't you think? I don't think they're going to be showing up again before the reset in Secret Wars.
I don't know.
Okay, it's true. I don't know either. No, that's just it. Just like I feel like we undercut Anthony Mackie's movie, and I just would have rather seen the Harrison Ford. I keep almost saying Rick Ross, and I apologize for that. The Thunderbolt Ross scenes, just with Banner, would have been so much better. Like they were good, and he does a good job of them. But I just wanted to see them against Mark Ruffalo.
You know what I thought was going to happen? I thought we were going to get a so I think they line it up right at the end to have Betty Ross come in and visit him. But if you're going to have somebody else visit in the mid credit scene, that's when you have Hulk show up
Mhm.
and talk to him about how he's going to teach him how
Right,
to manage his anger to control the Hulk that he has inside him now. And
that'd
then
been
they
cool.
start working together. It comes full circle, right?
That'd been cool. That'd been cool to do. And he could have been
And
like,
there
"Hey,
is no mid
this,"
credit scene.
like, "Hey, this is my random son, also from
It's
She-Hulk."
not like you didn't. It's not like they didn't have room for it. There's no mid-credit
Yeah, they
scene.
had room for it.
People were not happy in my theater when that happened
Mm.
because you still have to wait till the end. But then they're
Right.
like, "Oh, all right." And so I googled it too when that didn't happen. Like, all right, well, I'm not sitting here till the end if there's nothing else. And they're like, "No, there is one at the end." I'm just like, "You guys,
And you want to know what that scene reminded me of at the end?
a reshoot?"
No, other than that. Do you remember Batman versus Superman,
Yes.
the post-credit scene with Lex Luthor?
Oh yeah,
It seemed like the same exact scene.
yeah,
The bell has been rung. Now you can't unring it.
yep.
No one liked that the first time, Marvel. What are you doing?
Yeah, I saw people online calling it one of the worst post-credit scenes that they've seen.
I mean,
I
that's
don't
tough.
think it's that bad, but
There's an Ant-Man scene with just an ant playing drums, so it's better than that.
I mean that's actually pretty cool. I'm gonna
I
be honest,
hated
man.
it.
I love those Ant-Man
Yeah, they're
movies.
great. Except for the last
Like,
one.
yeah, but like even that one's not that bad.
Yeah,
My you know what? My problem with that one is it doesn't feel like an Ant-Man movie. You know?
it's too big scale.
Yeah. I don't know if we ever talked about that, but the first one and the second one I feel like fit together so well.
Hmm.
And then the third one, it feels like it's made by a completely different team, but it's not. And
Right.
I think that's because they shoehorned that story into it. They're like, "Oh, we have to have you fight."
Ken.
Yeah, and I don't know. So it doesn't feel like they were in charge of the story.
Right.
I also feel like they did his daughter dirty in that one too because they established that actress for her in Endgame and then
Right.
take it away from her for this one.
Like we gave it to Catherine Newton instead.
Yeah.
And then,
I
oh
wonder
my
if we'll
God,
see her again.
the amount of times that she says "dad" in that movie. Like if you took a shot at me and she said "dad" in that movie, you'd be dead.
She's just trying to establish
So
that
we
she
know.
is.
So we
She's
know.
like, guys, I'm his daughter now.
This is my dad.
The third actress.
I mean, this movie even had a couple scenes where like Ross is like, "My daughter Betty." It's like we know, everyone knows.
You know what's funny about that, too? The first time he said that, I was like, is his daughter's name Betty? Like, I don't know why, but in my head, I was thinking it was Betsy.
Well, that's why we had to hear
But
it
then,
42
yeah,
times.
but then he says it 8 times, and I was like, well, it's definitely, like, they didn't make the mistake this many times.
No.
Like, isn't there, like, there's a superhero named Betsy, right? Betsy something?
I got nothing. Seems like there should be.
Marvel, Betsy, Betsy Braddock, Betsy Ross.
Betsy Braddock. Betsy Braddock is Psylocke.
Yeah. Well, Captain Britain now.
When Psylocke's a whole thing, but yeah.
Yeah. Not going to get into that.
No.
All right. One thing I wanted to add in on Fantastic Four is one of the reasons I've been seeing a lot of advertisements for this movie. A lot of advertisements. And I think one of the reasons this looks so good is because it looks so different.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we've been missing lately is something that just looks different, you know?
It's gotten kind of the samey, the Marvel movies.
Yeah.
And we say that, and they haven't even been on Earth that much. Sorry.
What's that?
I said we say this, and they haven't really been on Earth that much the last little bit, but everything that is like Earthbound is just kind of the same palette.
Yeah, and then they did that with Ant-Man Quantumania, but then it doesn't feel like an Ant movie. So there's a balance here that you need to follow, right? And so with the Fantastic Four, it doesn't need to feel like a Fantastic Four movie that we've had already.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the strength of it. It doesn't feel like, you had the whole style of like the early 2000s ones with Jessica Alba, and the Fanforstic ones, they feel like that, but like darker, right?
Yeah.
They're like, let's just make it darker. And this doesn't feel like either one of those, but it also doesn't feel like anything else that's been in Marvel so far either. They've created, their suits are like that white and the light blue.
Yeah.
And it's like a futuristic, like,
60s.
Jimmy Neutron galaxy thing. And, it just looks fun. It looks unique. And it looks like, hey, we let these people do whatever the hell they wanted with this movie.
Right.
And we need more of that.
Yeah, we do. You don't need more of the same. Being different is good.
Right. And this one is not, so like, I think they really they need to decide what this movie's going to feel like before they make it.
Right.
Because this movie, they were like, okay, it's going to feel like, what were they going for with this? Because you're right. It doesn't feel like they were going for a Captain America 4, at least not 100%, because it feels like a 50% Captain America 4, 50% Incredible Hulk 2.
Yeah.
You got conflicting vibes going. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, like, I think you said on IMDb it's a 6.1. That's where I put it on my own personal thing. It's a 6.1 right now.
Yeah. 6 sounds legit.
I'm annoyed that they got rid of that airport scene. I would have loved to have seen Isaiah Bradley fighting serpent people in an airport. And that makes me sad. It makes me sad.
And like I was like, even when he's running away from the police there, I'm like, hey, they actually made that look pretty good.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like Robert De Niro in The Irishman running away from them.
Or even even Samuel L. Jackson in the first Captain Marvel when he was running, it looked terrible.
Yeah, he just looks winded. I was like, why would you show him looking winded? He's supposed to be 30.
Yeah, get a different actor for the body.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap up there for Captain America Brave New World and jump into a little bit of news and then a little bit of physical media showcase and then cheeseburgers await me.
Getting straight.
So, first thing of news, it has been announced, a Cape Fear adaptation coming to Apple TV+.
Ooh.
A new one. This will be, I believe, the third.
Third one, yep.
Starring Amy Adams and Javier Bardem.
Ooh, that's a good guy to play Max Caddy.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Right? Like don't put him as the Nick Nolte.
No.
Put him
as the
De Niro character.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what I hope
they better. Yeah. That's exciting.
Yeah. I love Cape Fear. I watched that for the first time since I was like maybe a teenager last year, and I was so surprised that I was like, this movie it's got its own feel to it too. Like this feels very, very different even from other Martin Scorsese movies, right?
Mm-hmm. Counselor.
Yeah. Yeah, so I hope that's good, and I think they're lining it up to be like a limited series and not just a movie.
Cool.
Yeah, have him do some twisted stuff to this cheating husband every episode for 8 episodes. Like, yeah, let's see that.
I'm gonna watch that. Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be the time you finally get Apple TV.
It will be, yes.
There's some good stuff on there.
Yeah. You just watched The Gorge, right?
I did just watch The Gorge.
Sorry.
Do you want to hear about The Gorge?
I keep going with your new stuff. You can tell me later.
I'm going to tell you right now.
Okay.
So The Gorge was great.
Yeah, I looked it.
You will really like it. So it is very fun. It's got a unique feel to it, and it's Scott Derrickson for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
We love Scott Derrickson. He did Sinister. He did The Black Phone. He did Doctor Strange. He did The Exorcism of Emily Rose. Great.
Yeah.
And this movie was really fun. Sarah even liked it. She was like, "This movie's ridiculous, but in a good way."
I like that.
Yeah, and it's good. It's fun. It gave me like 50s science fiction movie horror vibes at like many parts. You know,
good. I love that.
It's a big part of this movie rests on the shoulders of Miles Teller and Anya Taylor-Joy, and they're brilliant. You know, they're brilliant actors.
Always.
They are actors that you can give this movie to, where it's like, hey, Miles Teller is going to be sitting in a tower for 30 minutes of this movie, and she's going to be sitting in the other tower, and they're just interacting with each other. And, you know, a big chunk of the movie is just that. And you're like, hey, I can dig this.
I'm in. I got to watch that.
Yeah, you should. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. I will say it's not terribly scary. I don't know. It's action horror, right? Yeah. Action horror, science fiction. I won't give away what exactly the whole thing with it is, though. For anybody that hasn't seen the trailer for it yet, they're both in a tower guarding this gorge. You don't know what the gorge is, but one of the characters at the beginning says, like, "We don't know what it is. My job is just here to guard it. Now your job is here to guard it for the next year." And so he's guarding one side, she's guarding the other. Eventually, they fall in love, and they're using zip lines to visit each other, and these monsters that are in the gorge attack, and one of them falls in, and then, you know, the rest of the movie is them trying to get rescued. So that's the trailer. Go see the movie. It's fun.
All right.
Okay, next up in news, trailer has been released for The Accountant 2. Have you watched The Accountant yet, Dave?
I have not watched The Accountant. That's been one you've been trying to get me to watch for a while. I just haven't done it.
I haven't done it.
Sorry.
Yeah, so it is. The Accountant is very good. It's Ben Affleck, it's John Bernthal, and in the first one, it's Anna Kendrick in it as well, and John Lithgow, Amy Smart.
Oh, nice. Great
cast in the first one, and Ben Affleck and John Bernthal are brilliant as always. It's very good. It's way better than it has any right to be. And the teacher from Whiplash, J.K. Simmons.
Oh, is he in it?
Yeah, he's in it too. So yes, please go watch that. It's very good. Action thriller.
I'm in a mood for one of those movies lately, so maybe I'll check it out.
This will scratch that itch. It's very good. I'm telling you, man. You're gonna watch it and it's gonna finish, and you're gonna be like, "Wow, that was way better than I ever thought it would be." Okay. Next up, and this is relating back to our Marvel topic. Emma Roberts randomly posted a picture of Emma Frost on her, I think, Instagram.
Really?
You know what happens when people do stuff like that?
Usually they've been cast in a Marvel movie, or at least they had an interview about it.
Yeah. Or they're trying to insert themselves
into the conversation. Yeah. I had heard rumors that Margaret Qualley from The Substance was rumored to be frontrunner for Rogue. So I know that they said the X-Men Marvel movies, they want to be female-centric, so that would make sense if those are what the rumors are.
A lot of those characters are females that are the high runners in the X-Men team there, you know. So you gotta get an Emma Frost. I hope they tell Emma Frost's arc well, you know, because her starting as a villain and becoming almost an anti-hero, you know,
right.
like that arc is very good.
It's
so
very
I hope
good.
they tell it like that. You got to get a good Storm.
Mm-hmm. You need a good Storm. You have to.
You got to have Rogue. You got to have
Jean Grey.
Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel.
Marvel Girl.
Marvel Girl. There it is. Yeah, you've got to have her, Jean Grey. But she needs to start off, like, give her that green suit, right?
You need that suit. We haven't seen that suit.
Yeah, exactly. You got to have that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm down with it. And then throw a couple random dudes in there.
Mm-hmm.
Good. But, yeah, they got to get that casting right. Margaret Qualley, I'm on board.
That's exciting. I didn't know that Emma Roberts had done that. That's cool. I can see it.
I could see it too.
She's not a bad actress. I don't really know anything that she's done lately that's something I've watched, but don't mind her.
Yeah. Yeah, I like her a lot. So, she was great in all the American Horror Story stuff.
I haven't watched any of those.
Oh.
I know.
There's some good ones. I mean, if I was you, I'd at least watch the first 2 seasons. But, I mean, there's a lot of good seasons in there. So, fun one at the end here that is just kind of like, this is a little bit bonkers nonsense announcement. From the creators of BoJack Horseman,
Ooh.
Taylor Lautner is set to star in an Amazon series titled Taylor Lautner, Werewolf Hunter. It's set in an alternate reality where after filming of the Twilight films, he joins a secret society of werewolf trackers who need his unique skills. Hollywood actor by day, supernatural warrior by night.
Okay. I love that idea. I just don't know about the Taylor Lautner part.
Well, that's part of the charm of it, right? It being ridiculous.
That's true. And BoJack Horseman was a really good show, so I'm excited to see anything those guys do. So I'll watch that, but the Taylor Lautner part surprised me. I didn't think he was still a thing.
I think he's probably at the point in his career where he's like, I got to try some things.
Yeah.
I just got to start throwing things at the wall and see what fits, right?
I mean, Werewolf Hunter, I'm in. I hate it, but I'm immediately in on that.
It didn't say if it was going to be live action or cartoon, but it almost sounds like it would fit very well as a cartoon, right?
It does, yeah.
Like almost in the style of like Archer.
Yeah. I'd watch that.
Yeah, me too. So I just saw that and I was like, we got to talk about that because that's fun.
That is fun. I hadn't heard that. That's cool.
Yeah, that's all I have for news this week, though. Did you catch anything that I missed?
Nope, just that Margaret Qualley thing I was going to bring up and end up working in with your thing.
There we go. We made it happen. All right, so we got just a couple minutes here, so let's rush through the physical media showcase. So I'll go first because I got it right here. But I got another Steelbook, this time the Guns of Navarone.
Oh, nice. I haven't seen that one. I heard it's good, though.
So there's the front.
Is that the one that my mother told me that's the one that was like the prequel to Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare?
I don't know if I call it a prequel, but
I'm sorry, like a soft remake, I should say.
I did not know that going in, and she is correct.
Is she? Okay.
So I was going to bring that up, actually. So the Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare feels a lot like a very fun version. Yeah, say that 5 times fast.
Nope.
It feels like a fun version of Inglourious Bastards almost, but after watching this, I'm like, actually, it's kind of like that, but it's the only real similarity there is that they're fighting Nazis, killing Nazis, and there's like an undercover
is good.
woman, right?
Yeah.
But this, I think, feels way more like this, right?
Really? Okay.
There's whole scenes, like there's a whole boat scene at the beginning of this where like Nazis come and visit them on the boat, and you're wondering what's going to happen, and then they just kill all the Nazis.
So a lot like that then. My mom said that. I haven't watched it yet, but is it worth a watch?
It is worth a watch.
Right.
So the artwork on this is the same artist that did the artwork on the bridge on the River Kwai that I showed the other week.
I could tell from the back of it. It has the same kind of little thing.
Yeah, so it was good. It's a solid 4K transfer, and it's got some of the same actors as were in the bridge on the River Kwai, so that's cool. It was made in that same time period, so yeah, if you like that type of movie, I would definitely give this a watch. I don't think I liked it as much as Bridge.
But that's because Bridge is special.
Yeah, I was blown away by that, but this is still very good. Definitely worth a watch for you.
All right, and then for me, I just, because I'm at my parents' house right now, decided to finally play through The Last of Us Part 2.
Part 2?
As a lead up to the HBO series coming out later this year. So that's what I've been doing. I put a good 5 hours in on that Sunday, which for me, I don't play games that long anymore. It was pretty impressive that it kept my attention that long.
You finished and you're like, my back.
My back.
I sat in one place too long.
I've broken my body.
I broke my back. That's fun. Did you like it?
Oh yeah, it's been great so far.
You haven't beat it yet?
No, but it's a game. I don't know how far into it I am. like I said, probably about 6 hours. So I don't know. Probably have about six more or so. I don't know. Maybe more. I haven't Googled how long it takes. I just know that a major plot point I was expecting happened, and it was, even though I knew it was coming, it was very effective. So I want to see what they do in the series when that comes up.
Yeah, I've heard about that too. Cool. I like it. All right, folks. Well, that's all we got for this week. Next week, we are doing our review of The Monkey.
The monkey.
I've been hearing so many good things about that movie. I'm
excited
so
for
excited
it.
about that.
Yeah.
I got the Thursday night ticket for it, too.
Nice.
I hope I show up and they have the little monkey popcorn bucket. I shouldn't buy it, but I'm going to.
Holly wants one.
Yeah. Thing looks twisted.
Yeah, it does.
But, yeah, so we're going to be doing that next week. We're also going to be dropping our March schedule. So tune in for all of that. And otherwise, please subscribe to the show on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you watch/listen. And also, please feel free to follow me on Threads, Instagram, and Blue Sky. The handle is @BarkNightPodcast. So thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful night.
Bye, everybody.